Have you ever wondered why your throat tightens when you need to say no? Why your heart races, your palms sweat, and suddenly you find yourself saying yes to something you absolutely don't want to do? Stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to share might completely change how you see yourself. And more importantly, how you reclaim your life from those who've been taking it piece by piece. Picture this. You're exhausted after a long day, and someone asks you for yet another favor. Every cell in your body screams no, but what comes out of your mouth? Sure, I can help. And in that moment, a small part of you dies. Not dramatically, not visibly, but it dies nonetheless. You've just betrayed yourself again. And the worst part? You'll do it again tomorrow and the day after, until one day you wake up and realize you've been living everyone else's life but your own. This isn't just about being tired or overwhelmed. This is about something much deeper, something that psychologists have been studying for decades. It's about why we fear the word no more than we fear failure, rejection, or sometimes even death itself. Because saying no, truly saying no, means confronting the most terrifying thing of all. The possibility that we might not be loved if we stop being useful. Carl Jung once said that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And you know what? He was right. Because accepting yourself means accepting that you have limits, that you have the right to refuse, that your value doesn't come from how much you give, but from who you are. And most of us, we're not ready for that truth. Think about your childhood for a moment. When you said no as a child, what happened? Maybe you were called selfish, difficult, ungrateful. Maybe love was withdrawn, attention disappeared, warmth turned cold, and your young mind learned a terrible lesson, that no equals abandonment, that refusal equals rejection, that boundaries equal loneliness. So you learned to say yes, yes to keep the peace, yes to earn love, yes to avoid conflict, yes to belong. But here's what nobody told you. Every yes you give when you mean no is a lie. And not just any lie. It's a lie to yourself. And these lies, they accumulate. They build up like poison in your system until one day you explode. Or worse, you implode. You become bitter, resentful, exhausted. You hate the very people you're trying to please because deep down you know they're not the problem. You are. You're the one who can't say no. Niccolò Machiavelli understood power in ways that make modern people uncomfortable. He wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you really are. Think about that. When you constantly say yes, what are you appearing to be? Helpful, kind, reliable. But what are you really? Afraid, desperately afraid of being seen as who you truly are. Someone with needs, limits, preferences, someone who has every right to refuse. The psychology behind this is fascinating and heartbreaking at the same time. Alfred Adler, one of the great psychologists alongside Freud and Jung, talked about something called the inferiority complex. He believed that many of us operate from a deep sense of not being enough. And when you don't feel like you're enough just as you are, you try to earn your worth through doing, through giving, through saying yes, even when every fiber of your being wants to say no. But here's where it gets really interesting. The people who have the hardest time with your no, they're often the ones who benefit most from your yes. They've built their comfort on your discomfort. They've constructed their ease on your disease. And when you suddenly say no, their world shakes. Not because you've done something wrong, but because you've disrupted a system that was working perfectly for them. I want you to imagine something. Imagine you're a well, a deep, clear well that everyone comes to for water. Day after day, they lower their buckets, take what they need, and leave. They never ask if the well is running dry. They never wonder if the well needs replenishing. They just take. And you, being the good well that you are, You keep giving. Until one day, there's nothing left. You're empty, dry, exhausted. And guess what happens then? They don't help you refill. They just find another well. This is what happens when you don't know how to say no. You become a resource, not a person. You become a function, not a friend. You become a service, not a soul. And the saddest part, you chose this. Not consciously, not deliberately, but through 10,000 small yeses when you meant no, you chose this. Viktor Frankl, the psychologist who survived the Nazi concentration camps, wrote that between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. But most of us, we've eliminated that space. Someone asks, we immediately say yes. No pause, no consideration, no choice. Just automatic compliance. We've become programmable, predictable, controllable. The fear of saying no isn't really about the word itself. It's about what we think it means. We think no means we're bad people. We think no means we're selfish. We think no means we don't care. But let me tell you something that might shake you to your core. The people who truly love you, who truly value you, they want you to say no when you need to. They want you to have boundaries. They want you to protect yourself because they understand something fundamental, that a yes given freely is worth 1,000 yeses given from obligation. Karen Horney, a brilliant psychologist who challenged Freud himself, talked about something she called the tyranny of the should. I should be helpful. I should be available. I should say yes. I should make others happy. These shoulds, they're not your authentic voice. They're the internalized voices of everyone who ever made you feel that your worth was conditional, that love had to be earned, that you were only valuable when you were useful. But what if I told you that saying no is actually an act of love? Love for yourself? Yes, but also love for others. Because when you say no to what you don't want, your yes becomes powerful. Your yes becomes meaningful. Your yes becomes real. People start to trust your yes because they know it's genuine, not given from fear or guilt or manipulation. Let me share something that might disturb you. The people who get most upset when you start saying no, they never loved you. They loved what you did for them. They loved how you made them feel. They loved the convenience of you. But you, the real you with needs and limits and the right to refuse, they never loved that person. Because they never knew that person. You never showed them that person. You were too busy being whoever they needed you to be. Sigmund Freud talked about the ID, the ego, and the superego. The id wants what it wants. The superego judges and criticizes. But the ego is supposed to mediate, to make conscious choices. When you can't say no, your ego is weak. You're being ruled either by your id, doing whatever feels good in the moment to avoid discomfort, or by your superego, the harsh inner critic that tells you you're not good enough unless you please everyone. A healthy ego says no when necessary, without cruelty, but also without apology. Here's something most people don't understand about number. It's not just a word, it's a complete sentence. You don't need to explain your number. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to soften it with excuses or elaborate reasons. No is enough. But we've been conditioned to believe that no requires a dissertation, a list of valid reasons, almost an application for permission to refuse. This is madness. Your number is sovereign. It needs no approval. The psychologist Rollo May wrote about the courage to create. But there's another courage he talked about. The courage to destroy. To destroy the false self, the people-pleasing self, the always available self. This destruction isn't violent or aggressive. It's the quiet dismantling of patterns that no longer serve you. It's the gentle but firm refusal to continue betraying yourself for the comfort of others. When you start saying no, something magical happens. At first, yes, some people will leave. They'll be angry, disappointed, maybe even vindictive. But watch carefully, because after the storm, after the chaos of change, the people who remain, these are your people. These are the ones who love you, not your usefulness. These are the ones who value you, not your availability. These are the ones who see you, not just what you can do for them. Abraham Maslow talked about self-actualization, becoming the fullest expression of who you are. But you cannot self-actualize if you're constantly fragmenting yourself to meet everyone else's expectations. You cannot become who you're meant to be if you're busy being who everyone else needs you to be. Saying no is not just about refusing requests. It's about choosing yourself. It's about declaring that your energy is precious, your time is valuable, your peace is non-negotiable. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard wrote that the most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you're giving away a piece of your future. You're trading your dreams for their convenience. You're sacrificing your potential for their comfort. And one day, you'll look back and realize, you lived everyone's life but your own. Here's what saying no really does. It reveals who you've been surrounding yourself with. It shows you who was there for you versus who was there for what you could provide. It demonstrates who respects your boundaries versus who sees them as obstacles to overcome. Saying no is like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, you see everything clearly, and sometimes what you see isn't pretty, but it's real. And reality, even when it's harsh, is better than a comfortable lie. Jean-Paul Sartre said that we are condemned to be free. The weight of choice is ours whether we want it or not. When you don't say no, you're still choosing. You're choosing to prioritize their comfort over your truth. You're choosing to value their opinion over your well-being. You're choosing to live in fear rather than freedom. These are choices, and once you see them as choices, you can make different ones. The most profound no is the one you say to yourself. No, I will not abandon myself anymore. No, I will not betray my needs for your approval. No, I will not shrink myself to make you comfortable. No, I will not apologize for having boundaries. No, I will not explain my worth to those who should already see it. This internal number is where everything changes. Because once you can say no to your own self-betrayal, saying no to others becomes natural, necessary, even easy. William James, the father of American psychology, said that the art of being wise is knowing what to overlook. But I would add, it's also knowing what to refuse. Not everything deserves your yes. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every invitation requires your presence. Learning to say no is learning discrimination, discernment, wisdom. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want to leave you with this thought. Your no is not a weapon. It's a shield. It's not meant to hurt others. It's meant to protect you. And protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's the most basic form of self-respect. It's the foundation upon which all healthy relationships are built. Because when you can say no, your yes means something. When you can refuse, your acceptance has value. When you can walk away, your presence becomes a gift, not an obligation. The word no is 2 letters, 1 syllable, yet it might be the most powerful word in any language. It's the word that creates space for yes to the right things. It's the word that honors your limits and thereby expands your possibilities. It's the word that says, I matter, my needs matter, my peace matters. And if that terrifies some people, if your no shakes their world, if your boundaries cause them discomfort, good. Let them be terrified. Let them be shaken. Let them be uncomfortable. Because your life is not about managing their emotions, it's about honoring your own truth. Right now, in this moment, I challenge you. Think of one thing you've been wanting to say no to. One person you've been afraid to refuse. One situation that's been draining your energy. And make a decision. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Say no. Say it clearly. Say it firmly. Say it without apology. And then watch what happens. Watch how the world doesn't end. Watch how you don't die from their disappointment. Watch how you actually feel lighter, stronger, more yourself than you felt in years. If this message resonated with you, if you felt something shift inside while reading this, I want you to do something. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's drowning in yes when they're screaming no inside. Someone who's forgotten they have the right to refuse. Because sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for someone is remind them that they're allowed to choose themselves, they're allowed to say no, they're allowed to be free, and so are you.